Hello, my fellow knights and warriors. This is a playthrough of The Crossing, a first scenario for the Panzer, a game by James Day, released by the GMT, and this is a tactical scale game about a small units combat on the Eastern Front. This game has two sets of rules, basics and advanced. And this is the very first scenario for this game, and it is meant to be played with basic rules only, and you can play it with advanced rules as well. But today I am going to play it with basic rules only to show you the basics, basics of this game. In this scenario we have a fight between two tank companies. One is the German tank company that contains 10 tanks. There are 6 of them here and 5 of them here, so it's 11. And a company of the Soviet tanks, they set up here. And to win the battle, you have to destroy as many enemy tanks as possible and to control the crossings on this river, which contains a bridge, a fort, and yet another bridge. As for the units, this game is a bit unique because on the counters you have only movement values along with basic informations about the tank and its type. So for example, here we have Soviet T-34 tanks, and there is silhouette, the name of the tank, and movement value. There are 3 types of movement value. First is the terrain movement. This is the type of movement that our vehicle uses when it moves through every kind of terrain. Next we have a letter that tells us what kind of movement this vehicle utilizes, and this one has T. This means this is tracked vehicle, because vehicles can be tracked or wheeled. Some can be also half tracked. Next we have 2 values, one for the path, this brown type of road, and the last one is for the road. Let me show you here. This gray is the road. So as you can see, the faster a vehicle can move when it moves down the road. But what is most important, unit always uses the worst type of movement. What it means? If unit spends its entire movement on the path, it uses path movement. If it spends its entire movement on the road, it uses road movement. But if any hex of its movement is none on the road nor on the path, it has to use terrain movement. So even if it moves 5 hexes on the path and then it wants to leave the path, it cannot, because it would require it to use path movement, terrain movement, and its terrain movement is already spent. So this is pretty important to remember, and all the rest of the informations we get in on the unit cards. So for example, here we have a card for this T-34-76 tank, and there are tons of informations here. And what is quite important is the fact that in the basic rules we are going only to use a small part of the informations here. In fact, we are ignoring this part and that part and this part as well. So the only thing of this card which has a use for us in the basic rules is this part that tells us about the effectiveness of our gun. And same goes to Germans. German Panzer 4G has a lot of informations, but only thing that we are going to use is the part about its gun. As for the armor, in the advanced rules there are very detailed informations about the location hit and armor on this part of the vehicle. But when we play the basic rules, we are going to use only this small information here, which tells us about its armor on the front and side and on the rear. So what it means. Let's go to the Soviet tank. It has armor 1812. If our tank is hit from the front or side aspect, it uses 18. If it's hit from the rear aspect, it uses 12. So that's all. Neither of these informations has any use for us now. As you can see, most of these are also 18 or 12, but there are some different, because when you play the advanced rules, it is also quite important if the shooter is above or below, etc. etc. I might cover it later when I get deeper into this game and learn more about the advanced rules. But today I am going to focus on the uh, basic rules. They are fairly easy and understandable. So, at the each turn is divided into a couple of phases, and first phase is a spotting phase. This is somehow a recon phase, where you have to check if there are no any modifiers for our tanks, and you can remove spotting markers if there are any. This is first turn, so we can simply ignore this phase and move into the next phase, which is command phase. In the command phase, you are giving your tank's commands. In the advanced rules, the number of these commands might be very limited. There is a special table that tells us about the number of available commands, but when you are playing with the basic rules, you can simply give each tank of each stack, depends on your choice, a command without worrying about the number of them. You don't have to worry if you are going to get enough commands, because you have always enough commands. As for the commands themselves, let me take a look and show you how it works. We have a movement. When a vehicle or unit, because in the advanced game there are also units, has a movement command, it can move with its normal movement value, but it can't do anything else. Again, in the advanced rules, it can do some other actions, but in the basic rules it can only move. Next, there is a fire command. When unit gets a fire command, it can only attack. It can only shoot during the combat phase, and then it is no available for us for the rest of the turn. Short halt is a kinda mixed bag. Vehicle that has short halt can fire during the combat phase and then move during the movement phase. Of course, both of these options are limited. When it performs a fire during the combat phase, it gains negative modifier for combat, and when it moves during the movement phase, it can move only by the half of its movement allowance. So, like I said, mixed bag, but sometimes it is very effective, because when your tank moves, it is also harder to be hit by the enemy. So you might like to use short halt to make your tank harder to hit, but also fire on the enemy. Because when your unit uses fire combat, it is not moving. So it is easier to hit when you are using fire command, but you are also a better target for your opponent. Finally, Overwatch command. Overwatch command is a command that allows you to wait for the enemy and fire after he makes all his attacks, or fire during enemy movement phase. Again, your tank is not moving, it only waits for a chance to score a hit on the enemy when he will see him. Because sometimes you cannot see the enemies because of them being too far from you or in the hideout, but if they will reveal their presence due to the fact that they are firing or moving, then you can utilize Overwatch command to fire on the enemy that you now see. So these are 4 types of commands. There is also fifth type of command, no command. Uh, you may ask if it makes any sense. Actually, yes. There are situations, but I believe in the advanced rules mostly, when you don't want your tank to do anything. You want your crew to relax, take their time, maybe repair their tank or rather get off from the shock. So sometimes it is a cool idea to use this no command, but in the basic game there isn't much use for no command, so we'll be using these 4 commands only. And now we have a command phase, so we have to place our commands on our tanks, and both sides are doing this simultaneously, and in fact you should do this in secret from your enemy. In the board version it is pretty easy because you are placing the command markers upwards, and your opponent cannot see what kind of commands your tanks has. So he has no idea if your tanks are going to move, fire, do shortcut or something else. Okay, of course I'm soloing this game because, like I said before in my numerous videos, I haven't anyone to play with. That's the problem when you are living in the desolate area with no players around, and your time zone is kinda bad for most of the players all over the world, and this forces me to play solo mostly. So I'm going to give these 2 stacks order to move, and they are going to share this order, because I can give this order separately to each tank, and then they would have to move independently. But as for now, I think that I'm going to move them in stacks, so they are going to share the same order each. And the same situation goes here. Each of these stacks gets their command. So they have movement command. And now my Ivans. And they are also going to move because, well, the enemy is way too far to fire, and well, let's make it straight, they even cannot see the enemy. But moving now would be the best option. But here I'm going to do something else. I think I'm going to give separate commands to this. It is pretty good when you play basic game, because you don't have to worry about the command range, etc, etc. In the advanced game, I believe it is wiser to keep your units in the groups, because the command rules are in effect forcing you to stay in the range of your command unit, otherwise you have your command counters limited. But like I said, we are playing a basic game, so we don't have to worry about it. And now we move into the initiative phase. In the initiative phase, both sides are making a D100 roll to see who is going to be first. So let's go, and Germans 25, Soviets 83. So Soviets won initiative. This means they are firing first and moving second. Well, that's their choice. No one is firing because none of our tanks have short halt or fire commands, so we can go to the movement. And Soviet player decides that it is a German player who is going to move first, because he won initiative and he can choose. Often it is the best idea to let opponent move first, so you know where he moves and you can react swiftly. Sometimes, from the other hand, it is good to make your tanks move first, so you can take some key positions first. The choice is yours if you want initiative. Okay, so now let's go to the movement phase, because like I said, we are skipping combat phase in this turn, and now we can move our tanks. So they are moving down the path, so they have 6 movement points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6. So my Germans are moving in column, and there is another thing. When your tank enters new hex, it can always make one free phase changing. So I'm going to them move like this. So let me show you. Oh, they will be facing like this, and they will be because they are going to move down this path again. Now them. Now here this is a more interesting situation, because they are going to do some turns. So 1, and then our free turning 2, 3, 4, 5. Free turning and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again free turning. It is important to remember that you can do only one free turning when you enter new hex. So if you want to change your facing more than one arc, you have to pay a movement point. So that's all for the German actions, and now we are going to Soviets. So my Soviet tanks have path movement of 8, so they are a bit more faster than Germans, and this tank 1, 2. Now change facing. 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what they are going to do. No. I think I will move them a bit more closer to this bridge. So 6, and now 7. Okay, that's how they move. And this single tank moves 1, 2, 3. Sorry for this clicking, but this is a problem when you play in Vassal. And it's going to end its movement here. Why I am doing so, you ask? The reason is that this tank is now between the buildings, so it is in the type of terrain called alley. It is another important thing to remember. We have building hexes or alley hexes. If our tank moves in the alley, which means it is between the buildings on the road, it utilizes road or path, in this situation path movement, and alley type of terrain in the terrain effects chart. But if it moves on the building hex, it has to undergo several non-cool situations, because there is a chance that it will be immobilized, the building will destruct and fell on our tank. This might even result with destruction of the tank or damaging it. But of course, most of these are used in the advanced rules. Okay, so that's for these Soviet tanks. And now for them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, that's all for them. And now this, first I'm going to move these two. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now this is free turning, and now since I'm going to do another turning I have to pay, so it's 6, 7, and 8. And now this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, it moves down the road, and now it's not moving down the road but on the clear terrain, so it moves with the 5 movement points. And now I am adding my movement here. So that's the entire movement of the tanks. We don't have any more actions to do in the movement phase, so next we have adjustment phase, and there aren't much things to do in the adjustment phase, save to removing all the comment markers, because we are not going to use them anymore. And now we can mark our turn as done, so we are moving into the turn 2 of our game. Okay, so we have turn 2, and first of all we have a spotting phase. In such a game where our fighting vehicles are very close to each other, spotting plays a little role. Actually, you are not even going to use spotting markers very often in such scenarios, because our tanks are very close to each other and they can see themselves easily. But if you want to keep close to the rules with everything, you should use spotting markers just to mark our vehicles depends on their actions. So, for example, if your tank moves, then you have to mark it with a spotting marker. This depends on what kind of action it took. For example, if it moved, you are going to mark it with spot. If it fired, it has to be marked with fire. It is again important when you are fighting on the big ranges and your vehicles are in the terrain that can limit your options of to spot your target. Everything is visible here in the spotting ranges table, where you can see we are using a vehicle column only, and now you can tell that basic spotting range is 20. So when your vehicle, when the enemy vehicle is in the 20 hexes from you, and it is in the clear terrain, it is visible as long as you can draw a line of sight to this vehicle. If it is in any kind of cover, this might be reduced. For example, if it is in light cover, it is reduced by 1 to the 10. If it's in the medium cover, it is in it is 7. But if it has a spot move, you go 2 up. If it uses spot fire, you will go 3 up. But you cannot go more than +2. And now, as you can see, all our vehicles are in the clear terrain apart from this one. So this one technically would be could be in the cover. It is in the alley, and then let's check. Mm. Ali provides, I believe it is light cover, but let us check it out. Terrain effect, yes, Ali 7 light cover, and it is something special about the 7. Vehicle close assault support, that's something we can ignore when we play a basic game. And now this is light cover, so it is -1, but please remember that this tank moved, so it has spot move. So it is -1 and +2, so it will be +1. So even so, this tank will be visible from the 30 hexes, while all the others that moved and are in the clear terrain are visible from the 40 hexes. And this is the reason why you might hesitate about using spot markers in such a small games when you are fighting on a very close range. It is somehow good to remember about these spot markers because uh, it will help you to remember about them when you will play more advanced games with more units fighting on the bigger ranges, etc., etc. So now we can remove all these spot markers, and now we can start the turn 2. Oh, no, 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 on this spot marker, not the entire tank. Come on. And now we have turn 2, so we can give our tanks orders. As you see, we don't know who is going to be first player. And this is quite a crucial matter in this game, because first player fires first. So when you roll initiative and you have fire commands, you have a solid chance to seriously damage or even destroy a couple of enemy vehicles first before enemy will be able to fire back. This is the thing that I am not quite sure about if I like it or not. Because judging on my own experience, there were situations where one player was too lucky with initiative rolls and he was able to simply obliterate all the enemy tanks before they were able to fire. I kinda would prefer to resolve all the attacks simultaneously. I guess this would make a bit more sense, but the rules are rules, and I'm going to play according to rules. So now, let us go with our Germans, and I believe that they have a line of sight here, but as for the others, well, I am not sure. So let's go to the move. Now they are going to move. That's what I'm quite certain about. They are also going to move, and they are going to fire, and I'm going to give each tank a separate order. Why? Because I wanted them to fire on the separate targets. And here I'm going to give them move. As for the Soviets, they have a move, they have a move, they are going to use short halt, and they are going to use Overwatch, and they are going to use Overwatch 2. I know that Overwatch is pretty shitty game, but well, this order might be effective here. And now this stack, I think I am going to give them fire combat. So we will have some tank combat in this turn. And that's all for the command part of the game. So now we can go into the initiative phase, and like I said, this is going to be a very important matter because it will tell us who is going to fire first. So let us roll. For the Germans it's 43, for the Soviets it's 91. So Soviets have initiative. Let's mark it with initiative marker. And now Soviets are going to fire first. Soviet player can laugh evilly, feeling that he achieved his first goal. And now, these three tanks. And first thing I have to do is to declare who is going to fire on who. Because you cannot simply make a shot and then say, okay, I missed with this tank against that tank, so I'm going to use this tank to fire on that tank next. No. First you have to declare who is going to fire on who, and then you have to resolve all your attacks. This can be a problem when you have a lot of tanks on board and a lot of targets, because judging on my own experience again, it can be easy to forget. Uh, Sometimes it can be even good idea to use nodes, give each of your tank a specific number, and then make a note that tank number 1 fires versus on the tank versus tank 1. Tank 2 fires on the tank 4, etc., etc. But in this small game like this, it's not going to be a big pain in the ass. So they are firing on them, and each Soviet tank targets each German tank. So I am firing versus first tank fires on the first tank, second fires on the second, and third fires on the third. And now we can see. First of all, we have to check who is if they have a line of sight. I believe that here it is quite obvious that they have a line of sight to each other, because, well, there are no obstacles on our way. These hexes are roof terrain. They provide no negative modifier for the drawing of the line of sight. They can be a problem when you are on such a hex, because they provide a cover. But as for now, we don't have to worry about them. They provide no obstacle to the line of sight. So we can see these Germans. And now, how many hexes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are firing on the 5 hexes, and now let's check our Soviet tanks for our distance. There are 5 possible ranges: point blank, short, medium, long, and extended. And each of them has a limit of hexes. We are now firing on the range of 5. So this is more than 3, but less than 6. So we are going to use short range. As long as we have 6 hexes range limit, we are using short range. If there would be 7, we would have to go to the medium. So now we know that our range is short. This is important thing because it provides us information that we are going to use in the AP hit table. We'll be using our 2 hit number in the short column. Now we have to use possible modifiers. There's a couple of them, and a lot of them are used in the advanced rules only, so we can now ignore them. And the ones that matter: target size, a type of terrain target is, if target is moving or not, and that's all. So our targets are not moving because Germans also share the fire command. Our target are in the clear terrain, so there is no cover. And as for the target size, let me show you. Here you can see the target size. Germans have 0, Soviets have 0, so there is no modifier for target size. And due to this fact, we have no modifiers at all for this row. Why? Enemy is in the clear terrain, he is not moving, and we have fire command. And the fire command is pretty cool because it provides no negative modifiers. So we are going to utilize the column of short and the verse of 0. So we need to roll 70 or less to score a hit on our enemies. That's pretty solid chance to kill them. So first tank firing versus first tank, we need 70 or less. We got 3, so we hit the bastard. And now let's see how effective our fire was. We were firing on the short range, so our our 2 kill number is 17. We hit enemy from the front aspect, so it's 17, and enemy armor on the front is 13. So the difference is 7. Sorry, the difference is 4. It is 17 versus 13. So we hit them on with a difference of 4. Looks like we managed to do some serious damage to our opponent. And let's check it out. If the penetration factor is equal or greater than armor factor by 1 or 3, the target suffers damage hit. If it's greater by 4 or 9, the target suffers KO. And now we get 4, so it is greater than it's greater by 4 or 9, and due to this fact, this German tank suffers KO. So we have to knock it out. So first shot was very effective. Now the second shot. 87, this is a miss. And the tilt, because we needed 70 or less. And the tilt shot, wait, is it also 87? Yeah, it's again 87. Come on. Stalin is going to hate you bastards. Okay, so they hit one German tank, and they managed to destroy it, but they missed twice. No good. And now Germans. The tank which is already KO'd cannot fire. This is very bad. I'm going to remove this tank. Where is the graveyard? Okay, off to graveyard you go. Everett is going to remain here because it is important to remember. And now my German tanks are going to fire back on Soviets. So the first tank fires on the first one, the second tank fires on the second tank. And now the range is also 5. So let's check German tanks, and well, they have a bit better ranges and bit better gun. So when they fire on the short, they have a penetration of 20. That's pretty solid. And now let's check again. We have the same situation. Enemy is not moving. We have a fire command. There are no obstacles on our line of sight, so we have no modifiers, and we are going to fire on the column of 70 without any problems. So we need 70 or less to score a hit. So first German tank, it's 4, it scores a hit, and let me roll for the second one. It is 58, so it is also a hit. Okay, so we scored 2 hits on the Soviets, so each of the Soviet tanks was hit, and now let's check for the effect. We have 20, and Soviet front armor is 18. Well, they have a pretty good armor indeed. So the result is +2 for each hit. And if the penetration factor is equal or greater than the armor factor by 1 or 3, the target suffers damage hit. So each of the Soviet tanks is damaged. When we play advanced games, there are different types of damage, but in the basic game, it is simply a damage. So they are both damaged. They survived, but they are damaged. And now we have to mark our tanks on the both sides as a spot fire. This is not something again that you want to remember about during the game, mostly because of the shorter ranges and not much of the terrain protection in this scenario. But like I said, it is a good to have this habit in this game because it helps you later. So that's all for the German combat. Germans have no other tanks marked with fire command. And next we have a movement phase. And now Soviet player, uh, uh, because Soviet player has initiative in this turn, might declare who is going to be the first. If he wants, there can be his own tanks. Otherwise, there can be German tanks. And he says, "Okay, crowds, go on." And now a German player wants to move. So let's take a look on this part of the board first. We have new types of terrain: scrap and light woods. Let's check the table, and for the scrap, we are using a track and half track column. And for the scrap, this is going to be 2 movement points to move on the scrap hexes. As for the light woods, we need 2 movement points. Oh, sorry, no, woods. We are going to use woods, not light woods. There are 3 types of woods in this game. These are light woods, these are woods, and these darker are heavy woods. So I'm going to start with these 2 tanks, and they are changing their facing by 1. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they are marked as spot move. Let me. The vassal uses these dots. If it is green, it is spotted move. If it is red, it is spot fire. In the full game, you can use markers. Markers are more visible, but they also might create some more confusion on the board. So the choice is yours. And now this column, they are also moving. So they are moving here. 1, 2. They are also changing their facing now. 3, 4. And now the question is if these Soviets can fire on them. Well, this is a problem of the line of sight, of course. Let me show you. I want to check a line of sight, and here, as you can see, a line of sight runs directly through the edge of these woods, and woods are blocking terrain. And in such a case, the line of sight is blocked. This is quite another important thing to remember. If the line of sight runs exactly through the hex site of the blocking terrain, it is considered to be blocked. So no, I cannot fire at them. These woods are blocking my line of sight effectively. And they spend their entire movement here, so they cannot move anymore. Alright, now these 3 tanks, they are going to move. And now this is scrap. Let me check scrap for the oh sorry, roof. Roof. This is roof. You need 4 movement points to move into the roof terrain. It provides pretty good medium cover, but you need 4 movement points. And this means that I couldn't move here. Why? Because I would need 1 movement point to move here, and then 4 movement points to move there. And my tank has only 4 movement points in the normal terrain. So this is no movement option for them to go into the scrap. That's to the roof terrain. That's bad because I would be in a good position. So 1, 2, and this is scrap. Scrap costs you 2 movement points. So I am moving into this scrap, and that's the end of the German movement. I am marking them as a used, and now Soviets. Soviets are moving next. And now these tanks were fired, so they cannot move. And now this one, and now they are going to change their facing. 2, because we are moving up the hill. 3, 4, 5. We have 5 movement points, and thus we can move here. This tank goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As you can see, it spent a bigger part of the movement on the path, but since it wasn't starting its movement on the path, and it's not ending its movement on the path, it had to use its terrain movement factor. So that's all. And now they cannot see any targets. Well, so they wasted their actions, but I don't think so. They are actually protecting this bridge, and that's what they want to. They are still not holding it because neither side entered this hex. But if Soviets will be able to eliminate German tanks, then they might be able to size this bridge anyway. And that's their plan for here and for there. And now they need to take care about this fort because it also provides some victory points. Okay, so that's all for this turn. We can remove all the comment counters, and we are going to the turn 3. Let's carry on with turn 3. And now first let's go with Germans. I think I am going to do something else this time. Well, I want to show you some different things. So these tanks are going to get short-hauled orders, and these 3 are going to get a fire. As here, I am in the woods, so this is a pretty good position to attack the enemy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they are in the short range, which makes them quite a juicy target for now. And as for them, they are going to move. So that's all for the Germans. And now Soviets. All these three tanks can do their actions, but they are damaged. So they will have negative modifiers for combat, and their movement allowance will be halved. If they will be damaged again, they are good as dead. And now, what are they going to do? I will give these damaged tanks different comments. So this one is going to be fired. It is damaged. It isn't damaged, so it's not afraid of being destroyed very quickly. And for these two, they are going to get a short halt. And this will be an interesting case because short halt reduces our fire effectiveness, damage reduces our fire effectiveness, so their chance to score a hit on the enemy will be reduced drastically. But from the other hand, this is a good idea to reduce the enemy chance to score his hits on us. And now there. They are going to move because we already know that they haven't enemy on their range. Now these are going to move because let me check for the Soviet range. Soviet tanks. The range is 6, so they have them in the medium range, and Soviet tanks on the medium range has a penetration of 15. Well, this is enough to score damage on the German tanks, because as you remember, German tanks have a damage of 13, have an armor of 13. So this is not a bad idea, but I'm not going to give them fire comment, but instead I will give them a short halt. So this one, there are two, okay. So this one and that one gets a short halt. This one is going to move, and this one is going to stay here and remain with Overwatch. Alright, so all the tanks have their commands now, and now when we have these commands done, we can go into the initiative phase to see who is going to have initiative in this turn. So let's go. For the Germans, it's 46, and for the Soviets, it's 40. So Germans are going to be first, and now they laugh cruelly, feeling that they are going to have their revenge. Alright, so here we have two German tanks. They are going to fire on the first Soviet tank together. So each of them targets the same tank, hoping that if they will be able to score a hit together, then they will be able to destroy this tank. First one will damage and the other will destroy. We will see if this will work. So the range is 7. So this is short range. Enemy is on the clear terrain, because when you are on the hill, this still counts as a clear terrain. When you play the advanced game, being above the enemy is beneficial because your armor is better. But when we are playing a basic game, this has no impact. So we are firing on the short range, and now we have a fire command, but enemy has short halt. This means that enemy is considered to be moving, and when your target is moving, then please see you get a -2 modifier for your to-hit number. So we'll be using a shot with -2 because of the enemy movement. There are no other modifiers here, so this is 56. We need to roll 56 or less to score a hit on these Ivans. So first the German tank, it's 15. He made it, and the second tank, oh, 72, it missed. So we scored one hit on this Ivan, and now our penetration value is 20. Soviet armor is 18, so this Ivan is damaged. And we made our attacks. Now here, all of these German tanks are going to fire. So I'm going to fire with these two first. They are targeting the bottom one, and they are going to fire on each of these three tanks separately. So first they are targeting the bottom one, and now the range is 5. Germans fire on the short range, and Soviet tank, which isn't damaged, is not moving. So we don't get negative modifier for movement, so we are fire, but we have a short halt comment. Let's go to the column, and now we have a short halt, and this means we get -4. Yeah, that's why I said it is pretty hard to hit when you have short halt. So this is -4 on the short. This is 42. So we need 42 to score a hit on this bastard. First shot, 23, we made it. Second shot, 88, we missed. So only one of them managed to hit this Soviet tank, and it is 20 versus 18. This one is damaged. So they both fired, and now let's change these markers to move. Because they had a short halt command, so they moved, they fired, and they can still use this command during the movement phase. And now these three German tanks, they are firing separately on each of the Soviet tanks. So first one fires on the first Soviet tank, and the range is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is still short range, and the enemy tank has short halt, so it moves. And due to this fact, we are going to use -2 modifier, because target moving in the short range, so we need 56 or less to score a hit. And this is a miss. Second shot is literally the same. Our target has short halt, so it moves. Range is short, so again we need 56 or less. We got 7, we hit. And this is a situation when our target is damaged. It was already damaged, and now it goes down. It is knocked out. So let's remove this Soviet tank from the board. Let's go it off to graveyard you go, dude. And my third tank fires on the last Soviet tank. This tank is not moving. Oh, sorry, I forgot to remove this marker. And due to this fact, we don't get a negative modifier for enemy moving. So we need a basic number on the short range, which is 70. And our roll is 3. So we hit him, and now he is damaged. He was already damaged, so he is dead. We can remove them. We don't have to place multiple rec markers on the hex. In fact, you can use only one. The only difference is if you manage to burn the enemy target, then you have to replace such a marker with brew up marker, because it creates a smoke and it may cause an obstacle for your line of sight. Otherwise, one wreck is enough on the hex. Just to remember that there is a wreck. So that's all for the German combat phase, and next we are going to the Soviet combat phase. So we have only one Soviet tank remains here. That's no good. As you can see now, this is the difference when you get your initiative phase and you were lucky. You can destroy many enemy tanks before your opponent will be able to answer. So this tank is now firing on this tank, and this is going to be complicated. The range is short, but the enemy isn't moving. That's why I am targeting them, this tank, not any of these. But enemy is in the light cover. Because of the scrap, it's -1. I am using short halt, so it is -4. So it is now -5, and I am damaged, so I have -3. So it's total of -8. -8 in short, this is 14. Ha ha ha! We need 14 or less to score a hit. 36. This is a miss. So we are switching it into movement. And now here, these two Soviets are firing on these two Germans. And first two Soviet tank is damaged. So it fires on the medium range because of the 7 hexes, and Soviet tanks has a range of 6 for the short. So we are going to use medium range column. And now let's check. Our target isn't moving, but it is in the woods. Woods provide medium cover. Yes, medium cover. So it is -3. Next, our tank is damaged, so we have again -3, so it's now -6, and our tank utilizes short halt command, so it is -4. So we have total of -10 on the medium. We need natural 1 to score a hit. It is 15, certainly a miss. Now the other tank. It uses short halt too, but it is not damaged. So it has -3 for the medium cover and -4 for the short halt. So it's -7. On the medium range it is 15. So our previous roll would be enough to score a hit, but we now need to roll again, and we get 97. So definitely a miss. So we are switching it into movement. Okay, so that's all for the Soviet combat phase, and now we are going to make a move. And due to the fact that German player had initiative, then he may say who is going to move first. And I believe German player is actually not eager to move much. He says, okay, Ruskies go first. So Soviet player moves. 1, 2, and that's how he's going to move. He's not moving anymore. Now, these two, they have their movement halved because of the short halt, so they can spend only a half of their movement points, and the fact that they are damaged makes them problematic. I mean, they have only a half of their movement point, and unit, tank, which is damaged, has also its movement halved. So in fact, this one has 5. It is halved to 2 because of the short halt, and then halved to 1 because of the damage. So it can only spend 1 movement point. No good. And as for the same situation here, this one has short halt and it's damaged. So it is simply moving here on the bridge. Ha! We are holding the bridge now. And as for the others, these are moving 1, 2, and they are changing their facing. 3, 4. We are simply charging on the Germans. Let's see if this will do. And as for them, I wonder if they are going to stay here or do they want to move into the scrap. But moving here would cost me 3 movement points. 1 for moving down and 2 for entering this scrap. So I need 3 movement points. Sounds like a mission impossible. Yeah, but it is possible. As long as vehicle has movement or short halt command, it can always move 1 hex. Even if such a hex would be too costly for the vehicle to move, this vehicle can still enter such a hex as long as it is not a prohibited terrain. If a vehicle can enter such a hex, even if movement points say no when it comes to the number, it can enter as long as it moves 1 hex only. Okay, so that's why I moved here. And now, Germans. They had a short halt, so they can spend a half of their movement points, and they are moving 1, and 2. They have even 3 movement points, but they are not going to move any closer. They feel pretty secure here, so that's what they are going to do now. And these guys, they are in the very tight situations. There are 3 Soviets versus 3 Germans, and they are adjacent to each other in the face-to-face combat. I believe they are going to stay here. It will be fun. Well, for me. Maybe not exactly for them, but for me it's going to be fun, definitely. And there is one more thing I need to do now. Let's me check for the markers, control. And now I am placing a control marker here to remember that this bridge and that bridge are now considered to be under the control of the Soviets, because Soviet vehicles were the last to enter these hexes. Alright, so that's all for the German movement. I have no other actions for my crowds to do, and now I can remove all the command markers, and this is the end of the turn, so we'll be going to the turn for next. And let me mark it with turn 4. And so far, let me check for the losses. We have 1 German tank and 2 Soviet tanks destroyed, but Soviets control 2 victory hexes. These were 3 turns, and scenario takes 15 turns. I am not quite sure if I will need to play the entire 50 turns of the game. It might end much shorter if all the tanks of one side will be destroyed, but I think this is still far from being clear who is going to win. Germans are doing slightly better because, as you can see, we have 2 Soviet tanks eliminated and 2 of them being damaged. So Germans are in a bit better situation, but due to the random initiative, this game is less predictable. We still don't know who is going to roll for initiative in the next turn, who is going to fire first, etc., etc. So the situation might change in the later turns. As for this turn, that's all, and I'm going to call it a day for now. I will be back soon with the next part of this scenario. Till then, bye.